Imagine this. You're making barely over $1,000 a month, and yet, somehow a dealership convinces you to sign for a brand new car with an $800 monthly payment. Crazy, right? But here's the twist. When I dug into the paperwork, I uncovered a fraud so bold, so illegal, that it could have cost the dealership their entire franchise. And when I walked back in with the evidence, let's just say, they regretted ever messing with my friend. If you've ever wanted to see greedy people get exactly what they deserve, smash that like button, subscribe, and stick around. Because today's story isn't just about exposing fraud. It's about turning the tables and forcing a car dealership to give my friend a better car for free. Trust me, you'll want to hear every detail of this one. It was January 2020. My friend, let's call him Jake, made one of the dumbest financial decisions of his life. He bought a brand new car. Now, on the surface, that doesn't sound too bad, right? People buy cars all the time. But here's the problem. Jake was working at McDonald's as a shift supervisor, making $10.25 an hour. He wasn't full-time either, just about 30 hours a week. That's roughly $300 a week or $200 a month. And yet, his new car payment? A jaw-dropping $795 a month. On top of that, his insurance was almost $400 a month. Do the math. That's $195 in car expenses, when the poor guy only made $200 total. Meaning, after paying for his car and insurance, Jake would be left with a grand total of $5 to live on. No rent money, no food money, no life. Needless to say, he came to me in a panic. Now I used to sell cars. I know the tricks, the scams, the sneaky fees dealers like to pull. Jake thought maybe I could help him find a way out, so I sat down with his paperwork. And let me tell you, the dealership had absolutely ripped him off. Extended warranties, add-ons, ridiculous interest rate, the works. But here's the thing, as scummy as that is, it's not illegal. The only way out would be if I could prove they did something illegal. As I flipped through his papers, something clicked. Jake's application, the one he filled out by hand, clearly listed his income, around $14,000 a year. Now think about it. No bank on earth is going to approve someone making $14K a year for a car loan that requires $795 a month. It doesn't add up. That's when the light bulb went off. Dealers often take your handwritten finance application and re-enter it electronically before sending it to the bank. And when I pulled the copy they submitted, boom, there it was. They had forged his income. Instead of $14,000 a year, they put down that Jake was a general manager at McDonald's making $70,000 a year. Think about that for a second. They took a fast food shift supervisor and turned him into a six-figure earner on paper. That's not a mistake. That's bank fraud. A felony. I told Jake, we've got them. We're going back to the dealership. So the next day we marched in. I asked to speak with the sales manager and then the general manager. They both looked smug, probably thinking we were coming to beg for mercy. I laid the papers on the desk. Here's Jake's original finance application. And here's the one you submitted to the bank. Notice the difference. The GM leaned in, his face going pale. On Jake's form, $14,000. On theirs, $70,000. I didn't need to raise my voice. I just calmly explained, this is bank fraud, a felony, and we both know what happens if this goes to the authorities. You could see the blood drain from his face. He knew it, I knew it. Game over. The GM tried to laugh it off at first, but I didn't budge. I said, here's what's going to happen. You're going to unwind this deal, give Jake his trade-in back, and we'll forget this ever happened. Unwinding the deal basically means erasing it, like it never existed. But of course, the GM tried to wiggle out. He admitted they'd already sold Jake's trade-in. I leaned back in my chair. That's fine. Then you're going to give him something just as good or better, at no extra cost. The GM looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. He muttered, that's not how it works. I smiled and said, it does when you commit bank fraud. First, he offered Jake a beat-up 2007 Focus with more miles than Jake's old car. I shook my head. Nope, try again. He snapped, I'm giving him a free car here. I leaned forward, locking eyes. No, you're correcting your felony. You sold his trade-in. You pocketed the money. You tried to bury him in a loan he could never afford. This isn't generosity. This is you cleaning up your mess." The room went silent. Jake sat nervously beside me, clearly terrified we'd pushed too far, but I wasn't backing down. Finally, the GM sighed and said, "Wait here." He came back a few minutes later. "All right. I've got an '08 Honda Civic, 5,000 more miles than his trade-in, but it's a Civic. Solid car. We'll unwind the old loan, cancel the deal, and put him in the Civic at no extra cost." I looked at Jake. He nodded eagerly. "Deal." And just like that, the nightmare was over. The fraudulent loan was canceled. Jake drove away in a better car than he started with. And the dealership? They had to eat the loss. That brand new car they'd fraudulently sold him, now they had to resell it as a used car, costing them thousands. Justice served. Now some people might ask, why not get a lawyer and really make them pay? The truth is, we could have. But that would have taken months, maybe years. Jake needed a car the next day to get to work. Sometimes the fastest revenge is the best revenge. And honestly, watching that GM squirm in his chair, realizing I had him cornered, that was worth more than any courtroom battle. That dealership thought they could take advantage of a young, broke kid just trying to get to work. They thought they could forge numbers, bury him in debt and walk away richer. Instead, they lost his trade-in, lost the brand new car they'd already titled, and had to hand over a Civic for free, all while knowing I could have destroyed them with one phone call to the bank. Sweet, sweet justice. This whole experience taught me something. Greedy people will push you as far as you let them, but the moment you stand your ground, the moment you shine a light on their lies, they crumble. Sometimes justice isn't about getting even. It's about making sure the next time they think about scamming someone, they remember the day they got caught. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. What's the worst scam you've ever seen someone try to pull? I'd love to hear your stories. And remember, every week we share the most satisfying revenge stories you'll find anywhere. So turn on that notification bell because you don't want to miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay sharp, stay safe, and never let the scammers win.